Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your host, Adam Steele, and this is the Hot Pulse Studios podcast. Jamie is joining me this week as my very special guest, so please welcome everybody, Mr. Jamie Humphries. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. I hope you're doing well.
I am dragging me out on this very cold, slightly wintry Stockholm evening, actually, all the way down that long 2-minute walk to my studio. But I had to put my coat on. It's getting a bit cold.
Yes, I do apologize. Yeah, the weather is turning. So yeah, for those who don't know, Jamie, if you are or were at some point a young budding guitarist, you probably watched a Lick Library DVD or two, and you probably saw Jamie's face. But Jamie now lives in the cold North Sweden. He lives beyond the wall.
Yeah, I got out.
Yes, unfortunately, I am still here, but it does for now. There we go. I'm just going to make sure everything's fine. So, coming up tonight, we've both got one of our own unboxings to talk about. There's plenty of news from Harley Benton and Jamie's friends at Ernie Ball and Sire and all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff coming up. So it's going to be a right laugh. And then we're going to take questions from Jamie as well. So... well, we're going to take questions from the audience for Jamie. I mean, I could take questions from Jamie for the audience.
Ask you some questions, Adam.
Oh, feel free to. And so I'm going to drink an old-fashioned and let's roll the intro. There we go. So it's been about a month since I met Jamie. We met at 42 Gear Street, which was a fascinating event. Have you quite recovered yet from that?
Yeah, I'm kind of missing everyone. It was quite nice to in this saying in this solitude. We haven't really locked down in Sweden, so it has kind of been life as normal. But I guess I missed hanging out with some English people of the same mentality as myself. But yeah, it was a great event, and I didn't really know what to expect when agreeing to do it. Andy Ferris, the guitar geek, roped me into it.
Right.
And yeah, it was great though. It's good to make lots of new friends. Hence being here with you this evening, Adam. And
yeah. It's really interesting to me how like you knew Andy. I kind of tangentially knew Henning, but mostly through Glenn Fricker. Everybody who came knew somebody tangentially, but now we've very quickly become quite a close group of musician friends, as far as an online group of friends can go.
Yeah, it's quite good that the little Facebook Messenger group has continued with occasional work stuff and occasional childish stuff. Normally quite a lot of Mickey taking out of each other, but it's all
yes, far more frequent. Yes.
Yeah, but no, it's funny because I'd only met Andy a few weeks before. I'd obviously recognised Andy's logo and obviously Andy's hair.
Yes.
You know, he's quite a distinct character when you see him on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then he saw one of my Two Notes videos, I think, and commented on that. And then we started a conversation and then sort of connected on Facebook. And then he ended up asking me to do a thing on his making a living as a guitar player. And so that was kind of how we connected, but we connected quite fast and quite strong. And it was, but then through that whole connection, I've got to know Warren and I've got to know Glenn, and then obviously getting to know Henning and everybody else. Obviously, I knew Sam Bell from Lick Library, and I knew Jack Gardner from years ago. Me and Jack played together when Jack was probably about 16 or 17 the last time I saw him, and he was ridiculously good back then. So, but it was good meeting some new people.
It looks like we've had a bit of a YouTube derp from me. That's why everything's been a bit weird. We are live right now, but the YouTube chat's coming up a little bit strange. There we go. So yeah, that's my fault. Is I didn't change something in Restream because I'm an idiot.
It looks very technical. It looks very pretty though, Adam. It's very clever.
It's very, very technical. It just means that anything can go wrong at any point. But yes, it means that there's quite a few people waiting in the chat of the previous video. Oops. Let me
But they're here now. Is that Joe? Is someone saying hello? Hey,
yes,
hello?
Joe. So let me just let everybody know in the other stream. Because I am.
Just get my guitar and play a song
go.
while you're doing this.
I've been watching everybody in chat, but yes, okay, that's that problem resolved now, I think, and I'll change the rest later. So hopefully people will tune in. Good. Right, so without further ado, now that people are actually filing in and they're not watching the wrong video because I set things live on the wrong link. Ahoy, everybody. And we can now see that the chat in the middle is going absolutely bananas.
Yeah, now we have people here.
Now we have people. Good. And a lot of my viewers do tend to watch on kind of catch up, as it were, anyway, because I have quite a large US audience. So that works absolutely fine. They will know no difference.
Adam, what are you drinking? I've got to ask.
I am drinking a rather large old-fashioned cocktail, which... Have you had an old-fashioned before?
No, I'm drinking a cup of tea out of my Star Wars mug, but I thought I didn't know whether you had looked like you had a load of bits of old banana or something in a glass of squash.
Come on, focus. It's orange, so it's an old fashioned, and it's refusing to focus because I want it to. There it is. There it was, and is gone. So an old fashioned is Angostura bitters, sugar cane syrup, orange peel, a maraschino cherry, and a double bourbon, or as you can see there, a bit more than a double bourbon.
So that would be really good for my keto diet, with all that sugar in there.
Well, the sugar syrup, you can be as gentle with that as you like. I'm actually drinking this because I'm roughly following the keto thing. Much more roughly than you are, I think. You've been really doing well with it.
11.5 kilos, mate. 2 months.
Bloody hell. I think I've lost something like 3. But then I'm not really being rigid with it. I'm not sticking to it. I'm just making sure I don't get any bigger being sat on my backside of the whole quarantine situation.
I couldn't get any bigger, Adam.
There's always room. You've been to America, right?
Yes.
Yes, where they have sugar inside the sugar. Yes.
Yeah. You want sugar with your sugar.
Terrifying. But yes, I think it's time to go to the news. The news. So, we start off with the chaps at Harley Benton. Harley Benton, of course, being a subsidiary of Thomann. So, Thomann's own brand is, we were just joking off stream, it's the Aldi of...
the Aldi of music equipment.
Yeah. So, if you want cheap and cheerful, here you go. This looks to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, this is a Vox Night Train ripoff.
I was actually going to do this. It looks a bit... this one's a bit heavy. I was going to say, it looks a little bit like it's trying to be that.
It is a little bit, yeah. But it's it is a bit of a mini recto. I had one of those for a while. Wonderful amp.
Yeah, no, I think it is. It does very much look like the little Vox, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, not only that, it's EL84.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's 15-watt pair of EL84s, 2 12AX7s, and so you're not going to get a ton of gain out of it. So it is very Voxy, really. And, I mean, it's almost... I'm almost considering getting one of these just for the crack, just to have it in the studio as an option, because as it happens, I don't think I have a single amp that's EL84 these days.
Yeah.
So it might be worth having just for that extra flavor, but yeah, might be worth looking at. Apparently you can run it down to 5 watts or 1 watt or even 0.1 or 0.1 watts, which is basically just wiring the tube preamps straight to the speaker.
And that's about 200 quid.
Yep, £212.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's what I mean for an all valve comp for an all-valve head. It's not bad. You can see where
Looks
they've
all right.
you can see where they've cut corners though.
Yeah, but it's I've never tried any of their gear before. I see obviously Andy does a lot of stuff with the guitars.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I would expect every corner to be cut to keep to the price point, but depending on what you want, sometimes I want that kind of ragged round the edges, cheap blues, you know, like cigar box kind of feel. And as long as I'm not expecting the moon, hey, you know, I mean, if I was expecting this to sound like a mini rectifier or whatever, I wouldn't be sorely disappointed. With someone in chat saying, check the PV6505 Mini. I mean, that's a decent amp as well, but this is not that. This only has 2 valve preamps for a start. It's going to be significantly lower gain.
Yeah, I've been quite tempted as well with one of the EVH, the little baby ones, and also what's the other one? One of my guitar students is the Paul Reed Smith Mark Tremonti.
The Tremonti, yeah. That's a real fire breather. They say it's 15 watts, but it flipping isn't. I'll tell you that. My favorite that I've got in the studio right now that's kind of like that is the Marshall JCM 800 Studio, if you've seen them. It's a 20 watt amp, but they call it 20 watt. It's got 2 EL34s in, so it's really a 50 watt amp that's kind of toned down a little bit. And I've run it before with the preamp and the master both on 10, and it hurts. It's bloody loud.
Saying that this little thing here, this is EL84s.
Is it? Oh yeah, of course it is. That's right.
Yeah. This is a little beast of an amp. This.
Yeah. However, they've done it with Mesa. I mean, full disclosure to our audience, Jamie has been a Mesa Boogie artist for many years. Let's switch to that camera so we can see a bit more of your rig. I'm just going to move that over. So is that a Mark V or the JP2C?
That's a JP2C.
Ooh, I would love to have one of those.
They did me a nice wicker font on it.
Yeah. They'll do anything like that if they know you well enough. If you're good friends.
I've got a California tweed sitting there, the JP, and then I've got a Fillmore 50 out there, and I've got a racked TA30, which is a really interesting amp because when it comes to doing the sort of Brian May things that I do on occasions, you could switch it over to sort of that Vox style. It's a Vox circuit.
That is really interesting that Mesa would do that. Having said that, recently I played through a Stiletto and that ripped my face off. Gotta say, that was sharp as anything in the tight game mode. Very surprised.
The Transatlantic's a really interesting amp because it would do like that kind of chimey old school British amp.
Yeah.
It will do a kind of pseudo Marshall thing, and then obviously it's got a Mesa channel that will just do that thing.
Be Mesa,
yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So from your friends at Mesa, let's segue into an article from your friends at Ernie Ball.
Yeah.
So they have just released their new Family Reserve models. And I think I remember you commenting about these glow-in-the-dark cutlasses.
Yeah, I tried to get one, but even with my 22-year endorsement, I missed out.
Wow. Well,
which was a little disappointing.
The Family Reserve stuff is going to be, I mean, it's going to be seriously reserved. I mean, so there were 40 of the green ones and 35 of the yellow ones made for the entire world.
The green one was what I wanted because it had that kind of Steve Vai Charvel green meanie thing going on.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to miss that guitar from space.
No. I still might try and twist their arm at some point. I've got a Ball Family Reserve double neck, but I've also got they made this run of guitars called the Tribute, which was, I think they did like 120 of them for... To celebrate 20 years, I think it was since the Music Man Van Halen, and they were all the hand stained brown backs and hand finished. And then when I was doing this summer tour with Henry Rollins, I said, I didn't want to take my EVH because it's like 30 odd years old.
Yeah,
coming up for 30 years old. Sorry, should I say? and I didn't want to take that because we were doing festivals, and I wanted something with a locking trem, so I needed one in E flat, one in E standard with the drop D on both. So I just said, oh, could I get another Floyd guitar, another Axis? And so they said, what colour do you want? And I said, this green. And they said, that's tribute green. And they ended up making me an extra one.
Hey.
So it's 121 now, I think. So, but I do quite fancy one of those, just for those moments of putting my spandex on.
Yeah, doing the massive whammy dive bombs.
Yeah.
They've got this one, the JP6, that it's in a colour name that I don't particularly think is appropriate, called Cinnamon Shift. That could easily be mispronounced.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on the colour either. I do like the JP guitars, but not sure on that colour. It's like, hey, we didn't like the colour of the wood, so let's spray it in the colour of dysentery.
Yeah, it's kind of unusual. I come and go a little bit with the JPs. I've got two very early JPs back in England that I'm waiting to ship here.
Right.
I've one of the original Mystic Dream 6 strings.
Oh, yes.
And I have a 7-string that's in like a burgundy red colour, but my actual 7-string was the one that was featured in Guitar World.
Ooh.
So they released the guitar.
Yeah.
It was up for review, and then it got shipped direct from Guitar World over to England. So I have the magazine with my said guitar in it.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. I just like the original ones.
Last but not least, one that would appeal more to my sensibilities, I think, the Bongo 5-string. Now, that is a quality finish for a bass, I think, because you do often end up with basses that are just boring, and we're always second fiddle to the guitarist. But no, that really stands out there.
That is a nice looking bass. I was always a bit out to lunch about the Bongo and the name and stuff when it was released, but it is a fantastic bass. Have you ever tried the Big Al bass?
Big Al, no.
No, that's quite an unusual bass that Music Man did. It's based on the shape of the Albert Lee guitar.
Oh yeah.
That kind of Jetsons Strat, which I've got a couple of Albert Lees out there. I've got one single coil one, and then I've got one with a completely rosewood neck with 2 humbuckers, which is beautiful.
Nice.
But the Big Al bass, it had an amazing EQ circuit on it, and I don't know whether it's the same sort of thing as it has on the Bongo, but you could get some outrageous low end out of this bass. A really cool sounding bass. It looked really cool as well.
It sounds like it would be very similar, because I've always loved the Bongo. I mean, the whole idea of designed by BMW and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when they first came out, I was a teenager and I really couldn't afford one. And then I played a 5-string, and they didn't do a 6 at the time. And the 5-string, it's a very wide neck for a 5. And so the normal 6 has got a neck like an ironing board. It's about 3 feet wide, and I've only got little hands, and it doesn't really work. But they've now released the John Myung signature.
Yes.
And that one I'm very interested in. It's got 6 strings slammed onto this 5-string neck.
Oh, okay.
So they slam them all together. And my favourite bass, which I have at the studio, is a Washburn that's that very similar principle. So Grover Jackson, where he must have played it and gone, there's no way I can fit, no way I can reach all this. Let's crush it all together. And so that's my favourite bass I have, is a very similar thing. Because playing a big instrument with small hands, not ideal.
Yeah, see, I've got relatively big hands. I've got a couple of 5-strings. I've got 2 5. I've got actually a Sterling Ray 30 something over there, which was one of the first of the Sterling editions of the 5-string Stingray bass, and then I've got a proper 5-string Stingray out there, an American one,
yes.
And then I have an American Sterling 4-string, and that Sterling bass. I don't know whether they do that bass anymore, whether they make it. It's just got a really, really good sound. Really good sound.
They do
something I don't know. A bit. I'd rather have a 4-string and tune it funny.
Yeah, it's funny. I've done that a couple of times, but it depends what I'm playing with a 6, especially. You can really pull some harmonics out while you're playing that you can't do with a 4. But
I get lost on it, Adam, with my meager bass playing skills.
well,
I try and play an E chord or something. Embarrassing.
Well, you spent so many years on the what I might call the regular guitar that like there's no way I'd get to that level. So yeah, we do what we do.
Indeed.
So moving on to something more guitarist friendly, the Strymon, the new Strymon pedal. Have you seen the Night Sky?
Ooh.
Is of course everybody knows the Blue Sky and the Big Sky from Strymon, but they've now released, or at least announced, the Night Sky, which is a lot more user friendly.
I was gonna really.
Well, it's got a lot of knobs, but
It's got a lot of knobs and buttons, Adam.
Well,
Have you
ever played with the Big Sky though, where it's got like the sub menus and all sorts of stuff with a LED screen? Let's
not forget, Adam. I couldn't find the drift setting on the Julian, so I'm hardly gonna find the hidden settings on that thing. But yeah.
Well, as far as I can tell, there aren't any hidden settings though, and that's the deal. That's why there's so many knobs.
What is it? Is it a reverb or something?
It is. It's a reverb, and it's every parameter it's got is right there. And so there's 8 presets on 8 buttons there, and that's your lot.
Yeah.
So it's got different sizes and that kind of thing, but most of it, I mean, it looks terrifying, but the ones on the right, that's just how much reverb do you want and how much dry signal do you want. That's simple enough.
Yes.
Then there's the drift function. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
the drift function. My God.
Oh, I've seen so many, so many versions of that Juliana video. That was the funniest thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't. There was that YouTube video came up where people were talking about product placement and people earning loads of money. And I saw someone mention the Juliana pedal, and I was waiting for my name to come up saying, "Oh, I bet that guy was getting paid loads of money because he was in every video." And it was like, I was the only one who actually listened and then did, do my video with me.
Oh yes, that was so funny. Yeah, you did end up in every video for that, and most of the videos for the Eventide Black Hole as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that something like 42 Gear Street, Henning made sure that, with our train fare or plane fare or whatever to get there was paid for. That was it. We weren't paid, quote unquote, to be there. We were just there to have a good time and get to meet people and just do some videos because why not? And that's the thing. A lot of the videos that we do are because why not? Yeah. I mean, yes, we do our jobs. Like you do videos to talk about new Mesa gear for them because somebody has to, and you have been nominated as that person.
Yeah.
And there are companies that I do that for, and there's nothing shady about it.
No, I don't. I saw something the other day. There was another webcast with someone going on about stuff, and I don't like getting too involved in that sort of business because it always ends up turning into a sort of a slagging match. But I couldn't help but think to myself, maybe he was getting a bit confused with what would be paid demos rather than reviews.
Yeah.
I've got some pedals and some things that I want to review, but they're not going to be crap reviews, as it were, because they're pedals I own that I find interesting. And if I'm demoing a product for a company that I get paid for, the only reason I'm demoing it in the first place and working for them is because I obviously have a relationship based on the fact that I like the gear.
Yes.
Otherwise I wouldn't do it. So I find that, but you've got to make a living.
Yeah. Is that a marching band going past yours, or is that just the terrible Scandinavian wind?
Do you know what it is, actually, right? I was thinking then, I wonder if anyone's hearing this. My studio, for all of you lovely people out there, my studio is a bomb shelter.
Oh, really?
It really is, yeah. Where we live in Stockholm, we live in it's just a little beach there. We live in an apartment. We used to live in these apartment buildings, and then we moved, and we downsized because we were renting. It was so expensive. We wanted to try and save to buy a house, so we decided to downsize. But I lost my studio room, and this space came up ridiculously cheap, and it's 100 square meters.
Wow.
And I paid like €200 a month for it, but it's underneath the apartments. It was a bomb shelter. So I've got this room that I built new walls in, and then I've got the big live room and a kitchen and a storeroom and a bathroom and everything. But the maintenance man insists on working upstairs in the boardroom where the people that I rent off, and he's always dragging furniture around. So I'll just be about to record some acoustic guitar, and you hear, and you're like, oh. Yeah, so he's always, for some reason, so he just decided to drag the sofa around, probably something. Yeah.
Master of Feng Shui.
Yeah.
There's always something, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah, there we go. So, next, moving on from them to microphones. Telefunken. Someone's pointed this microphone the wrong way. The guitar's over there, mate. So this new Telefunken TF11 FET, a premium condenser mic on a budget-friendly price. So Telefunken, known as previously the distributor of all the Neumann microphones, and also have made stuff under their own name, which is very, very well known for many, many years. They also make mics that are like 10 grand. And I do want one, but I haven't got 10 grand to throw at somebody. I have now made a microphone that's apparently good quality, that's under $900, which is still a lot of money.
It's quite a lot of money.
Yeah, apparently it's got nice transformers in, and it's based on classic Telefunken stuff, but yeah.
And you can record it round the wrong way, according to this picture.
Apparently so. They want that nice out-of-phase sound, maybe.
Yes, yeah. Get behind it.
I've seen people do weird stuff like that in the studio, though. Sometimes it works. One of the best kick drum sounds I ever got, we got one of those egg mics, you know, the AKG D112, and put it in the kick drum backwards.
Oh, okay.
And it sounded perfect. And nobody could ever work out why. It just kind of did. It was one of those things where some guy that we knew had read it somewhere and said, try that. And we did. And we're like, this makes no sense. But yeah, from a microphone that does one thing to a compressor that does 52 things.
Oh.
This might be just up your street, Jamie. 52 different compressors in one.
yeah, and a drift control.
Yeah. I actually think this is almost interesting, but I mean, as much as that looks quite overwhelming, it's categorized. There's category for drive and saturation. There's a whole like row just for vocals. And I don't know what they do, but there's ones called like voice overdrive or radio voice or shiny. And I don't know, maybe some of them are just the same repeated, but they appeal to the right person at the right time. I mean, I can see how I might put this on throw this on a kick drum and then look under kick drum and press the fat kick button. That might.
Have you ever seen who's that company? The Get Good Drums. They did a compressor similar to that, didn't they? But it wasn't obviously as full on as this, but it was a bit more.
Yeah, smash and grab the compressor.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I never got round to getting a copy of that, but it does sound good. But yeah, I mean, this looks overkill, but thinking about it backwards, it's actually more simple for a lot of people, maybe. Because you can just look under the words and go, oh, well, I want one for my snare that's smash snare click. That might just do it for a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but yeah, very, very pretty. You don't like the colours?
No, I don't. It looks like something you get at like a bingo hall or something for a bingo calling compressor. I don't like the bit on the side.
Nah,
that's just my opinion, Adam, but I couldn't find the drift control, so what do I
know? There is a button that says engage, so you can take Captain Picard to warp speed.
Yeah, indeed.
Moving on from that back to another microphone. Warm Audio have announced their Neumann 87 clone version 2. Now, this is significantly less expensive at $600 than that Telefunken one. And I don't know, I tried the previous Warm Audio 87 and I was not impressed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a Neumann U87, but to me it sounded nothing like. It sounded like just a regular Chinese microphone.
Oh, okay, that's interesting because I quite fancied some of they do their nice compressors, and they do what is it? They do like a Poltec EQ clone as well that I have my eye on.
I've heard that they are better than this microphone and my experience of it. From some people that I trust, they've given me like reviews of their Pultecs and said they're good. They're not close to being a Pultec, but they're not nearly as bad as the Clark Technic 76, if you've seen those, or the Clark Technic EQ, which Glenn Fricker recently put under the hammer, literally.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, the Clark Technic Pultec was terrible, but then Clark Technic are now owned by Behringer, so yeah, that should give you a clue.
Yeah.
That's
was
why
it like £199 or something for a Poltec EQ?
It was actually about that, yeah. And so the alarm bell should be going off in your head going, hang on, wait a minute, no. And yeah, you opened it up and it was mostly air and a couple of 12AX7s, and it's like, oh dear. So from cheap, back to cheap again. I want to get your opinion on this, because you've got like a Helix and stuff like that, haven't you? Have you ever done any shows just with a modeler? Have you had to?
No, I've never done. I can't get round doing that. I've never had the. I use preamp pedals. I'd rather do that. I've got a Helix out there, but I've only just got it, to be honest with you. Line 6 lent me one for doing some video, but I only got the Helix, the HX effects one, so just to run with the amp, no modelling or anything. But to be honest, I've got a Marshall JMP1 in my rack down here.
Yes.
And so I've had my Marshall JMP1 since 1994. So if ever I've had to do any kind of portable fly gig, I'll just take a JMP1.
Good stuff. Well, in that case, I think with the preamp pedals in the JMP1, this might be something that interests you. This is a little power amp from Harley Benton. It's a 100-watt power amp that's got bass, middle, and treble in case you need to tweak it. And like I say, it's not very big, and it's 100 watts, solid state 100 watts, so it's probably more like a 20-watt valve equivalent-ish. But if you need some noise coming out from behind you so that you feel a bit more comfortable, which is what I would imagine this is aimed at for, guitarists.
That's mental.
Yeah. I've seen small pedal-sized things before. Seymour Duncan do one that's probably a lot more expensive than this. But yeah, 70 quid.
70 quid?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I could trust that.
Well, it's the kind of thing that I'd take with me to give me some sound out the back and not to rely on as, the be-all and end-all of tone.
You just said sound out the back, Adam, and I didn't make a childish joke.
Well, you really missed a trick there, haven't you? I would have. Okay, so moving on. Have you ever seen IsoVox adverts for those? So IsoVox, it's so the IsoVox thing. Before we talk about the actual news, I'll just go on to a news article.
That's when you put your head inside a box.
Essentially, yeah. So it's like a sound deadening box for like voiceover guys. If you're on tour somewhere and you need to record vocals, they work really, really well. But today's news article is that IsoVox have now made a dedicated microphone to go in their vocal booth, and it sounds really, really impressive. And it's weird that the where was the picture that I saw? There we go. The pickup, the capsule, is a triangle, which I've only ever seen in one brand, and it turns out that they're working with that brand. What's the brand's name? I saw it. Erlund.
Right.
I think they're a Swedish brand, Erlund. I think IsoVox are as well, actually. Yes, they're Swedish. And hey, those crazy Swedes coming up with these crazy ideas.
Crazy Swedish people making you box on your head when you're speaking.
I'm just going to quickly...
He looks very Swedish at the bottom.
He does. I'm going to play his sound clip. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, Jamie, but this is Monty Reed.
Oh,
audio render error. Yeah, that's what we want. Where's that supposed to be going out of? That would be why. If I hit that might work. I'm having this weird tech issue this week where every time I click on Chrome, it blacks out.
Hi, I'm Monty Reed.
There we go.
Oh.
What you're listening to now is the ISO mic, the perfect companion to the ISOVox 2. It features a triangular diaphragm, a cloud mount, and a very effective pop filter called the ISO Pop. It's made in Sweden and sounds like this. Even sounds better when the side's up. How's that? Yeah, baby.
So yeah, I don't know if you could hear that, Jamie. It probably wasn't coming through, but it sounded very fat, very airy, very radio voiceovery. And I mean, that guy's his job is voiceover, so he obviously has the golden voice. But that is, how much was it again? Oh wow, over €1,000 for one of those.
And how much is the box to go with it that you put your head in?
More. I think they're about 1,200 for one of those. Pounds, dollars, euros. Let's see if I can find a price. This is quite an old news article that I'm looking at for ISOVox. I might have to look at that on a separate window. How much is an ISOVox 2? £828 for an ISOVox 2.
It's quite a lot of money, isn't it?
It is, but for what it for the people who want it, it's probably the perfect solution. I mean, I'm not sure if a lot of people would like a head in a box. Warren's in chat. Hello, Warren.
Is Warren here?
Yeah, produce like a pro. Hi, Warren. Hope you're doing well.
He did threaten to come in and see us this evening.
Oh, Warren always carries out in those kinds of threats. Yes, good to see you. So yeah, I do want to try one of these crazy ISO mics, because I've got in my studio on the top floor, we've got a very echoey, very reverberant meeting room.
Yes.
I sometimes use it to record drums, but I could try putting the ISOVox thing in there and try that. See just how dead it becomes.
That'd be a good test.
Yeah. So I mean, the use case I can think of is, like, say you're a touring musician, but you want to record your album, you know, on your days off or during the day in the hotel room. You're not going to find anywhere that's properly treated when you're doing it like that, are you?
No.
But if you
can... Also, I think generally as well, you know, I even noticed with this little room, my big room out there is just a canyon and still needs lots of work. But this room in here, even suspending the ceiling and doing bits and bobs, still I notice voiceovers and stuff, there's room.
Yeah, I can hear quite a lot of room on your sound. Yeah, I mean, it sounds good, and for what we're doing, it sounds perfect. But for like really close pop vocals, yeah, you'd need to deaden it to death, which is why my vocal booth is dead, like uncomfortably dead. But yes, let's move on. So Larry Carlton, hero to many guitarists.
Indeed.
Have you ever played a Sire guitar or bass?
No, I haven't. No,
so
I'm sounding like I don't know anything about gear, because everything you pulled up so far this evening, I've never heard of. Sire.
Well, so Sire have made Marcus Miller's basses for years now.
Right.
When he branched off, I don't think he works with Fender anymore. Now it's all Marcus Miller stuff is from Sire, and they have now released 3 Larry Carlton models.
Nice.
And they're all about the £500 mark, and Sire make really good stuff for the money. So Larry Carlton is known by many as the 335 player. And
Mr. 335.
Indeed. So Sire have made the H7, which is very 335-esque. And I think that, let's look at the price for that. The price for that one was £517. So very affordable, but not the cheapest of the cheap. They're also making a Les Paul shape for him, which is the Larry Carlton L7. And they're also making, and this is the one that really caught my eye, the S series Strats, which have some very pretty finishes and a roasted maple neck. And that's what caught my eye. I do like roasted maple. And to be able to offer this with a roasted maple neck, single humbucker, master volume and single tone, and all for 475 quid.
That is really good.
That is ridiculous value.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I say, Sire have done some very, very nice basses for Marcus Miller. I've tried a lot of lower end cheap basses, like around the 300-400 quid mark, and they always feel cheap. And then I tried a Sire and it didn't feel cheap. And that's I can't really, without giving you a full review video, say much more than that. But long story short, it just felt far more expensive than its price tag suggested.
Looks nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm not as keen actually on the Strat style ones as I was the 335. I think that I like.
Yeah. So that's Warren just said it's amazing that Gibson didn't do this with him and then do an Epiphone version, and that is very surprising. But then Gibson really have shifted strategy recently, so it's interesting watching what Gibson are not doing. And yeah, Sire, like I say, I wonder if Marcus Miller talked to Larry Carlton and said, "Look, I'm getting this kind of deal with this company, do it," because it's the kind of thing where, like, if that's really affordable, like some of these are under 500 quid, and if Larry Carlton's making a half decent cut off this on every guitar, and they're still good guitars, then he's never going to have to work a day in his life again if he doesn't want to. Which hopefully he will want to. Yes.
Yeah, I've not come across those. They seem quite interesting.
Indeed. Sire only caught my eye because I am a bit of a Marcus Miller fan. And so then the name comes up because there's Marcus Miller signature this, signature that, signature this. And then, so there were these affordable signature ranges. And so my ears went, oh, okay. Because he's not the kind of man to put his name on rubbish.
Yeah, definitely.
And so hopefully that's an endorsement for what's to come with these. But we shall see. It'll be very interesting to see if we could get one of these in your hands, Jamie.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Try one of those out.
Yeah. I mean, it's the kind of price range where I can see it not really being competition for a lot of what you do with, Ernie Ball and that kind of thing.
No. It's quite a different instrument to what I'm involved with as well.
Very much so. But yeah, I don't think I could do these justice. But I know guitarists who could. So
I'm sure you could, Adam.
Oh, come on. If it was
I heard you playing.
I can play a few licks, but I found it very difficult to keep up with 10 amazing YouTubers and Henning. So last but not least, this is a bit of a weird one. If you're into MIDI, Michigan Synthworks makes a 16 fader MIDI bank now, and this is insane because it's USB.
What is this?
So it's a load of faders for MIDI, for changing all your MIDI presets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if you've got rack gear, you could probably program it with these. But it's a USB based bank of sliders, which is very unusual, and it's got switches so you can change modular synths and all that kind of stuff with these as well. And you can change what it's controlling just with a little switch. So it's very hands-on for something that's MIDI based. Very, very clever. So not cheap at $325, but check that out if you're a MIDI and keyboard geek, or if you need to program stuff and you need faders and you need them now. There are less and less companies making stuff with actual faders than there ever were, because everything's digital now.
Yeah, I kind of missed that sort of hands-on. I was just been looking at, I can't remember what it's called. It's like a controller, Steinberg thing for operating Cubase with.
Oh yeah, is it Yamaha, Steinberg?
Yeah, I don't know. Did Yamaha do it? I don't know. It's on the Steinberg website.
They're the same company these days, so it's more than likely.
Yeah, but it's some kind of nice thing that, I think you sort of scroll through what track you want, and then you've got a volume fader and stuff like that, which seems quite appealing. If anything, it will look cool on my desk.
Yeah, I had something like that for a long time, and I got rid of it because honestly, for me, I've become so keyboard and mouse ingrained that it was just getting in my way. Eventually, I redesigned the studio, and it just didn't fit. So out it went because
there used to be one called Houston years ago. That was a really good one.
Ah, yes.
It was quite a big unit that did everything, and that was always me and my friends were, I want to get Houston, but obviously it didn't last. You could probably get those on eBay now for probably 200 quid or something.
Yeah, it's funny, they get rarer and rarer. Tascam did one that was a 24 fader motorized controller.
We had it at Lick Library.
Yeah,
we had one at Lick Library.
The Tascam US 2400. I remember it well because I lusted after one for years. And recently I saw one on eBay and it was going for $1,000, and I went, you know what? Nope, I'm good. I'll stick to my mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, they had one at Lick Library. I don't know. It was the last time I was in. It was sort of leaning against the wall, but that was the main control surface that they operated, that they used to use with Logic.
Right.
But it just seemed a bit cheap.
Yeah, I mean, there is a bit of that. The university I was at had them in every room, and eventually I went back to, again, mouse and keyboard because it was just like, I feel like I'm going to break it. But anyone who does want one of these, check out the link from gearnews.com. And that was the news. There we are. So, Michelle is asking, isn't Steinberger a Gibson brand? Steinberger is a Gibson brand. Steinberg is a Yamaha brand. Just to be confusing, very confusing. Of course, Steinberger, makers of headless guitars and basses.
Headless guitars.
I had a Steinberg Spirit for years. It was crap.
Well, they did a thing with. Do you remember? You probably don't actually. A company called Hondo.
Oh, I know Hondo. My first bass was a Hondo too.
Yeah. My friend had a Hondo bass, but then they did a Hondo. It was called the Jack bass, and it had EMG select pickups, and it was headless, and it was made in conjunction with Steinberger. And that was a really cool bass. And I had a Jack bass, and I stupidly sold it to get. I got a Fender bass, which was a good bass, but it was still it was a cheap Fender bass, and I should have kept the Jack bass because it had a really good preamp and split pots, and it was just headless. But it was like, it was kind of a bit like a Status. Yes, it was meant to be that kind of thing.
Oh, my number one was a Status for years and years, but it just never felt right to me. I ended up going back to the good old jazz bass in the end.
Yeah,
just because I could happily throw it around on stage a bit more.
And they made Status basses with headstocks as well.
Yeah, they still do. Yeah. It's just they are known for their headless ones.
Yeah,
it's just a thing. But yeah, I'm a massive Mark King fan, and of course Status had the Mark King bass for years. So, 16 years ago now, I got a Mark King bass, and what a wonderful thing that was.
Oh, wow.
Carbon fiber neck woven right through. Yeah. It weighed nothing. And that was my go-to bass for a long time. But, do
they still make his bass now? He has a signature bass.
He does. They do. Yes. They've just released, I think, the Mark III version of the... Status bass. I'm pretty sure they've just made a new version. Let's just check that out. Basses. Yeah, so they made the 30th anniversary level 42 bass. And then I think they're still making his stuff as the go-to, because they still make the King bass.
Yes.
Looks like they're more like Music Man-ish pickups on the bass these days, though. Mine had like soap bars on.
Oh, okay.
And they were so aggressive. It was brilliant. When you wanted to do slap stuff, you could take someone's head off from 20 feet.
Yeah. A friend of mine, he had a JD Mark King bass.
Oh, yeah.
JD basses were what he used in the early 80s.
Yes.
But this thing, my mate was really excited. I've got a JD Mark King model, and he bought up at what used to be the Base Centre in London.
Oh yeah.
And when he got this thing, it was the widest body ever, and he lasted like a week with it and sold it. But it was like a coffee table. You could have done your gig and flipped it over and had like 4 people sit round it and have dinner. It was massive. He used to put it on and it would be sort of up here under his. It was a rather large instrument.
You didn't just happen to be wearing it like a bow tie anyway, as many bass players
I don't think there was
want
any
to
option
do.
not to.
Right.
It was touching your feet and your chin. It was a rather large instrument.
Yes. I did want a JD bass for a long time. John Diggins, rest in peace. His son still makes JD basses.
Ah.
My dad's also a bass player, and he's looking at getting one of those.
I think everyone's laughing at your drink, Adam. By the looks of things, there's some comments about your drink.
Yeah, no, it's the old fashioned cocktail is my drink of choice, and has been for quite a while now.
So is this like a weekly thing that you drink that? I thought you had goldfish in your glass.
It might improve the flavour. Yeah, so last few months or so, it just so happens that when we do the stream, I kind of unwind for a little bit, because when I'm not on the podcast, I am like, focus. Oh, is that the time? Sleep, wake, carry on. So when we do the podcast, it's like my unwinding time, and I get an old fashioned out. I did before I was drinking old fashions, drink ales every week. But I was finding that it's easy enough to have 2 or 3 or 4 ales, and then very quickly they add weight like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Not the first time in my life that's happened, but yeah, to break the cycle, I'm going with something a little different. I very rarely drink spirits, but the old fashioned is a favourite of mine.
Well, I broke my my sort of long term. Well, I didn't really drink a lot in Germany. We had a couple of beers. Well, some people drank more than 2 beers.
I may have been one of them.
But that was the first time I drank a beer since January when we were in Germany. So I sort of can do these long, sort of 7-8 months, and then But yeah, I just sort of avoid it. I just drink tea, too much of it.
Warren's drinking PG Tips. So
he always drinks PG Tips. I keep telling him about Aldi Red Label as well.
Yeah.
He was trying to get some sent to America.
Customs are looking at it going, what is this?
Yeah.
Poisonous. Yeah. So any questions in chat for Jamie? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people want to ask.
We could do an unboxing, Adam. Should we do an unboxing?
Oh, good call. Shall we start with mine, which is the less less interesting of the two, and then we've got a proper unboxing to do. So mine came yesterday. It's taken 2 weeks to get here.
It took 2 weeks to open the box.
Certainly felt like it, but I've got these. These, if it will focus, are reamp boxes from Signal Art Electronics. Because no one makes a good reamp box. They're all rubbish. Have you ever tried reamping guitars?
Yeah, I have 2 notes reload.
Oh, that's probably a decent reamp. That's probably the exception to the rule. But then they are significantly expensive, the reload, because that's also got a very nice reactive load box and the power amp in it and everything. Yeah,
it's got attenuation and everything going on.
So that's the thing. It's not a reamp box per se, because you can't buy that bit separately. It's very good all in one. But any separate reamp boxes, generally, I've always found they're not loud enough. If you ever just A/B, just like a loud Les Paul and then stick a reamp box in, you've always got to turn the gain up by 3. And they're always slightly kind of mid-focused, and they've not got very good top end. And so Chad from Signal Art over in There America has built these for me, and they are very loud and very clear. And these were very highly recommended to me by Glenn Fricker. The one with the blue knob is their regular reamp box. Come on, focus. And the one with the red knob is a new design called the Angry Reamp box that's designed to really kick your amp in the backside. So I'm very much looking forward to trying these. They only arrived yesterday. I'll be in the studio tomorrow morning making lots of noise.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, but there's not a lot to show off. Now for the big reveal from somebody people have actually heard of.
Yes, so I got a call about a week ago from Matt Knight at Boss, and had a little bit of involvement with Boss over the years, and they sent me a set of their fine Wowzer Air headphones a little while ago for practicing at home and not waking up my 4-year-old. And they told me about this really cool new product that's coming out, and it arrived today.
Ooh, the Pocket GT.
The Pocket GT. So I've not opened this yet. So when I came home from the studio, I ran home to have some dinner and a bit of quick video editing on the dining room table, and then come out back to the studio to chat with Adam. I thought, I'll bring this with me. So we are now, this is a proper unboxing. Okay. Cardboard,
yes.
Everybody. More cardboard. Put that on my desk. So, nice little books.
Ooh,
it's very
books.
exciting, Adam.
Manuals that us men never read.
Yeah.
We just look at the pedal and look for the drift function.
Yeah, well, you can use that if you've got like a wobbly table to put it under the leg.
Yeah.
Here we go, guys. Let's open this up. Oh, I've ripped the bag. I did it wrong.
Oh, he's ripped the bag. Rip the bag.
Rip the bag. It's almost as bad as ripping the tea bag when you're making a cup of tea.
Oh, no.
There you go. Check that out, everyone.
Oh, that's so small. Or is it just that your hands are absolutely huge?
Yeah, I am absolutely massive. So it does kind of resemble a little bit like a 1970s TV remote control. But from what I've gathered, I haven't had a chance to play with this yet, but I believe it has some of the guts of the GT, you know, their series in there. So I don't know whether it's like one of their floor units or something. So it will produce all of your guitar tones, but it will Bluetooth to an app, or you can plug it into your computer. The one thing I was a bit disappointed about that I like about the Wowzer Air headphones is that it has the Bluetooth connector for the guitar, so you can sit there with the headphones and you go and sit in the bathroom if I want some peace and quiet practice without my child, dad. So, but with this, you still have to plug in a regular set of headphones and your guitar. But so this makes your noise, this makes your sound, but it's designed for interacting with YouTube.
Oh.
So if you're one of those people who likes to, you know, sit at home at night and jam to backing tracks, you can actually put in markers. You as I haven't tried it yet, so don't quote me. I might have got this wrong, but someone's put there. You can change the presets from the video, so you can put markers on a video. And so, say you're jamming to, I don't know, Another Brick in the Wall backing track, or you're jamming to, you know, one of Tom's elevated jam tracks or something. And you're playing, but God, just shoehorned a bit of publicity for one of our fellow YouTubers.
I'm like Tom from Elevator Music.
So, you know, you're jamming along playing your clean parts, and then you get to that point and you want to go to a solo. Instead of, you know, frantically sort of tapping away to try and find a crunch sound, it will just change the sound for you.
Fantastic.
So great if you're playing to cover versions. You import the videos into an app, I believe, and I think you can loop sections and do all sorts of other stuff. But I haven't played around with it yet. Like I said, as you've seen, I've just
literally just been unboxed.
That was the unboxing. So I'm going to find some time this weekend to experiment with this. But that's pretty cool. That's all your guitar sounds. And Boss stuff sounds pretty bloody good, I think.
Yeah, it definitely does. Oh, you find the DS1 setting, and then you've got the Andy Ferris tone.
Yeah.
He released a video a couple of days ago where he's just...
Find the Metal Zone setting, of course. Hopefully there's one of those in there. Yes.
Actually, no irony, one of my favourite pedals for bass.
Is it really?
Yeah, you split the signal so you get a clean low end. And the top end, if you're getting a gritty, distorted sound, you turn the distortion down a bit on the metal zone. It's a really good bass distortion.
Well, I need to research the metal zone a little bit, because I have a feeling that I used to use its predecessor as the main drive pedal in my setup when I was a teenager.
Oh, you
which
didn't
was
have the
original JCM 800.
Yeah.
But I used a black and orange Boss heavy metal pedal.
Oh, an HM2. Nice. The chainsaw.
And that was a good pedal.
Yeah.
I love my HM2.
There's a whole genre now of like doom metal guys who swear by it. They turn everything up full, but it just gives you a chainsaw of a sound.
See, I never used to use it like that, but I don't know why I preferred the HM2 over all of the other ones. But this was like 1989. I used this pedal. I had like a little case, a 3 Boss pedal case, and I had a DD2 or a DD3 that was in loop, and then a Boss Super Chorus and an HM2, and it was fab with my Ibanez.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
But yeah, it's something quite interesting, guys. I think it does some more sort of functionality for videos. You import the videos, I believe, into the app. So and also, I think if people are using these to create content and lessons, then if you download their video into your system, it will open up all of the sounds for you.
Ah, very nice.
So,
I can see a whole kind of little world revolving around that.
Yeah, I think so. I think the chap from Boss that I know, he was quite excited about it. He thought that this was going to be quite a good thing. I'm just going to be at home later on trying to change the channel on Netflix with the damn thing, and it won't work. Trying to find the drift function, of course.
Yeah.
Adam, it's in there somewhere.
Bloody drift function.
There you go, guys. Check that one out. I'm going to do a video when I've got through my massive backlog of videos. I shall hopefully do a video at some point on this. Looks pretty cool.
Yes. Oh, so we had a question in chat. Like I said, if anyone's got anything for Jamie, feel free to fire away. Question from Evan Ward. Can you reamp through pedals? Absolutely you can. The way that I think about reamping is it turns whatever signal you've got basically into a guitar again. So then what comes out of the reamp box, just imagine that's your guitar. So what would you plug your guitar into? So if you'd plug it into a wah, then a chorus or whatever, then an amp, do all of that. That's fine. That is exactly what these are designed for. That way you can get a whole signal chain. Or sometimes what I would do in the studio is I would get, say if it was a solo tone, I might get a guitarist to have a wah pedal and some sort of distortion or boost or whatever it is, then the DI box to capture that before going off to an amp. Because then that whole thing of them performing with the wah and that kind of thing is captured.
Yeah, it's all there.
Yeah. And then I'm not having to sit reamping whilst reading a book whilst one foot is going wow, 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 wow. Because it's the weirdest feeling to play a wah pedal without actually playing the guitar at the same time.
See, I've never really got into reamping before. It's never been something that I really did. And when I started building this studio, I was talking to Guillaume at Two Notes. He said, "Oh, we've put done a lot of work for Two Notes over the years. So they put they donated the reload for me."
Nice.
And then a friend of mine had recorded some demos. We had a big meeting with Live Nation about a project that we were doing until this stupid virus thing.
Yeah.
And so we were getting some full demos together, and then there was a few other demos that my friend had just recorded in his apartment in Stockholm using like the amps within Logic or something.
Right.
And so he had this guitar signal, and I'd never done it. So it was just for time. Let's just use your performances. And we came out of the patch bay and into the front, and you kind of match the level on the front of the reload. So it gets the same signal as the guitar going in, and went into a treble booster and into the amp, and it sounded fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I do a lot of reamping for those kind of situations. A lot of what I do as a mix engineer is I do that for people who, for whatever reason, especially in the lockdown, don't have the ideal recording situation, I just say to them, it doesn't matter. Either use a virtual amp or you can loop a DI through to like some cheap amp, just so you've got something.
Yes.
Play what you're going to play and then send me the performance and I'll do the rest.
Yeah.
And yeah, it means I can also play around with different tones, because I know that certain guitarists, they might only have one amp, for instance.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to a full performance and there's 7 guitars on the track, and you like, I mean, unless it's the best amp in the world, I don't know if you've ever stacked loads of tracks of one amp and you go, this doesn't sound good. And I sometimes find that that's just build-ups of the same thing. Whereas if I could go right,
yeah.
Whereas if I could go right, these rhythm tracks go through the dual rectifier, these go through JCM 800, so on, so on. Yeah. Magic happens.
See, that's the thing that I found unusual about it, was listening to my friend play guitar with this really kind of plinky. I plugged into my Apollo sitting in my living room, you know.
Yeah.
That sound, and we matched the input on the 2 notes, and then actually sitting here playing with the amp, listening to it was quite a surreal experience of experimenting with the amp post the performance, and changing speaker cabinets and in wall of sound and stuff. It's amazing. So I never really get around to doing it now on projects. I should have done it. I just did an album for an artist. There's an album coming out next week on Frontiers, that metal label, and I got brought in to do all the guitar solos on this album, this artist's debut album. But I should have used it then, because it was such a rush job that it was, we need solos. When? Now. You know, I literally sent the solos in, I think the day before we came to Germany, and I saw on the weekend they were filming the pop video for the single, and there was some guy miming to my guitar parts, which was quite amusing. But I should have used it then, because it's all obviously nice to give someone your interpretation of a track as a session player, but then also give them a clean DI and go, well, then you can do what you like with it. You can put that performance through an amp, or you can put it through a soft amp or whatever. So I think I need to utilize that piece of kit more than I do, and get into just capturing a DI of the performance.
It's funny that for me, capturing a DI and reamping helps me a lot in the studio, because it means, especially as an engineer, I can separate as someone who's played as long as you have, you will be more than aware that you react to the tone of an amp.
Of course, yeah.
But what if you reacted to the tone of an amp and then I changed the tone and it worked for different reasons? It can open up a whole Pandora's box. It can get weird. But sometimes you just listen back and you go, that's it. That's the one. Or what can often happen in my experience is that I've got a guitarist who's got, like, you know, JP2C, like you've got, they've got a cab and they've got an SM57, and they record it and it sounds okay, but nothing special. I could take that same signal, put it through a similar amp, but then use 3 or 4 different microphones. I could spend an hour messing around and getting it perfect, but without the guitarist getting bored of playing the same thing 20 times. Because that's the other thing.
I at some point in the near future, I have enough tunes to make an album, and I keep threatening to put an album of mine, not for any other reason of just I want to make a guitar album because I like guitar music.
And why not?
And, but doing I think when I do that, I think I don't know whether I do it. I think I just do it. I should do it across the whole thing. You know, maybe whether I do it on just the rhythm parts or the leads and everything. But I think it could inspire you to go, oh, let's take that section there. I played it in the JP, but maybe it would sound cool through something else. Yeah. You know, that having that option to do that post the recording session and coming back to something, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing, is you can then take the sound of it and the performance of it and just separate them. Because if you've ever chased the perfect rhythm track or the perfect solo, and you reach the point where you go, I've got it, that's it.
Yeah.
That's great and that's amazing. But then afterwards, if you listen back to it and you go, but I don't like how the amp was set, or
Yeah, exactly.
you'll never recapture the magic again. But what if you captured the magic? It gets a bit, you've just got to think a bit differently. But it's freeing for me. It some people say like, oh, it's option paralysis, and it can be, but then you have to bring it back round and go with your guts.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's an option that it's a little bit of a safety net, if anything, because like you say, you know, you can record something, and imagine if I'd have done all of those takes for that album. Thankfully, I didn't get that feedback. But imagine sending it off and the engineer's like, great solo, but tone sucks.
Yeah.
You know, and instead of you trying to recapture that moment of, oh, my sweep picking was really on it at that point, and then you know that you've still got that performance, and so then you know they can use whatever amp that they choose to use, which I think is I think it's a really cool thing. And having this conversation, Adam, I'm going to utilize that unit more in my rack, because it's at the moment it's just sitting there looking impressive
stuff. I mean, it's well worth playing around with it, even if it's just to satisfy a certain curiosity.
Yeah.
So, sometimes I just do that. Sometimes I'll listen to a mix that I'm doing and I'll go, you know what? Maybe that guitar with a JCM 800 would have been better with a 5150. And then I'll try it and then I'll go, nope. I was right the first time.
Yeah.
But then you know. And
it's nice. It's kind of nice to have that option, though. Really.
Just got to let yourself not get bogged down in it.
Yeah.
Like it's I did a load of reamping for a German band last week, and I did 3 full songs with the clean parts, crunch parts, lead parts, everything, 1 amp. I used the Hughes and Kettner Black Spirit.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen the Black Spirit 200s? The little solid state thing, and it was really, really good. And I just kept changing it for everything. But I just thought, you know what, I'm going to commit to this. But the band had sent me the tracks, and they'd been recording with, one of them had been recording with Guitar Rig, you know, the old plugin.
Yes.
And one of them had been recording with a very heavily scooped modern Marshall. And for pop punk stuff, it just, I find it more with younger artists that they'll get a sound that sounds great on its own or great in the bedroom, doesn't work in a mix.
Yeah, I see. I call that pod syndrome. Because when the pod came out, we all did the same thing. Oh, this thing is fantastic. Actually, I'm going to show you my pod.
Oh, hello.
Hang on.
Adults only stream, everybody. Oh, the shiny one. Oh, that's amazing.
The shiny pod. Look at it.
Is that the original pod?
This is a pod. That's a pod 2.
Pod 2.
Yeah, it's the pod 2.
That is incredibly shiny.
It's the classic one. Yeah, because the original, there was one before. I think this is the 2nd generation one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I bet you get some really good cleans out of that. I've been talking to John Brown about this, that he still often gets really good clean tones out of his pod.
No, I still use it. I got a Pod Pro XT in my rack that I used to use. It was in my big rack. Well, not this version, because this was a custom build in my dodgy version that I built. The Pod Pro XT was in there for my lap steel. So it was in one of the routers, or the switches on my system is a stereo switcher, and the other one is a mono, for depending on what pedals or what I'm doing.
Sure.
And so we'd use it as a preamp, and it would go to the returns of my amps. So at the point where I had to play lap steel, it was just a switch on my foot switch, and I turn around, and instead of just keeping the lap steel totally independent in the pod, because then you could have all Larry compression to make the notes last, and sort of have Fender amps and stuff. But I still use it. I think it's better if you turn off the speaker emulation and run it for a 2 notes, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that lets older modeling hardware down, I think, is that the cabinets weren't great. But everything else in them was pretty close.
But the thing is that the Marshall JMP1, although that's not modeling, it's a valve MIDI preamp. Speaker emulation on that is phenomenal. Such a good speaker emulator.
That's interesting because I used the ADA MP1 for a while, and the speaker emulation in that was shocking. And that was from a similar kind of era.
Yeah, that's really good on this. I've got it running at the speaker emulator now, just because it's just a go-to kind of thing. But again, I've got an old 2 notes cab pedal, and I'm thinking of. I nearly sold it the other day. Someone was after one, and I thought, no, don't sell it because it's a pedal version. It's got MIDI on it.
Yes.
And the Cab M hasn't got MIDI, so I decided to keep it. And I was thinking only the other night, because I got my Marshall JFX1 effects unit, which was basically ripped off of a Rocktron IntelliFX. It was the same. I think they copied the algorithms and then changed bits of it, but it's a really nice reverb and delay. The chorus on it is phenomenal, but nice. I'd had a problem with it, and I just did a reset, and it seemed to sort it. I think the internal battery needs changing, but it just sort of rejuvenated my interest in my old Marshall rack system that I toured with, and I think I'm going to substitute the onboard emulation for the 2 notes cab pedal. I think it will sound better.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I've done experiments in the studio with this kind of thing, and all the old modelers just turn off the cabinet, use the 2 notes unit. Everything else is great.
Yeah,
you can really bring stuff right back to life. Even newer pods like the HD series, the cabinets, turn them off, use 2 notes, done.
Well, I think so. Who was I talking to the other day about this? I think it was actually my friend Ross from Line 6, and he was saying, like, use the speaker models within the within Helix, but if you then use the impulse responses, it's just
it's night and day. Yeah,
changes everything. So
the Helixes I've used, I don't like the cabinets, but the IR loader that's built in solves that problem.
Right. So I'm thinking of swapping out. I've got the two. I've got an Echo Pro and a Modulation Pro in there that I've had for years. I at one point I had 6 of them, but when I moved, I sold 2, and I regret selling them now. So I've got 2 in my studio rack and 2 in my live rack. And my friend at Line 6 keeps saying, "Oh, we want to get you to change those Mod and Echo Pros in your rack, and we want to get you a Helix," which will mean a bit of a rewire because I wouldn't know where to start on my rack because it was done by a proper rack builder, and I go, "Oh yeah, what's in there?" We can't even see the cables for starters, but it's funny because they sent me this HX effects, and I took it out of the box and was using it on a Boogie demo last week and was all very excited. And just went down to the legacy settings. I said, "Yeah, I was in the legacy settings and this delay and that delay," and Ross was like, "Oh, it's because you're just using the old Echo Pro sounds, you moron." You completely bypassed all the really nice new sounds and gone, "I'm going for the old legacy ones." So I don't know, I'm really attached to these old units. I think they just sound good.
Yeah, well, if they sound good, they sound good. Weren't they designed by George Tripps?
I'm not sure.
I know the DL4 was.
The pedal versions were okay, but they were real tone suckers.
Yeah.
At the time, Ernie Ball Music Man had an affiliation with Line 6. So I went on a Line 6 pod training course. I had to go to Rugby, where Line 6 used to be, and had to learn how pods worked and all this stuff. And they gave me, loaded us up with a load of gear, and I remember using a pair of those pedals with my Cornford amps, putting them in the loop, and it just killed everything. Whereas if you just used a boss delay, it didn't. But these didn't. These always sounded good, the rack versions. So yeah.
Well, fair play. I had a very good question for you in chat from Chris. How did you start your career?
And did I start my career?
Yes.
I was very, very fortunate enough to have quite a well-known guitar teacher. I started playing guitar in about 19... Yeah. 19, I started playing guitar in about 1977, 78, something like that. It's
Right.
piss take. And yeah, I was very young. I was about 5 or 6 years old when I started playing guitar. I turned 50 next year, and so that's going to be tough. But I've been playing guitar. Yeah, see, I was about 6 years old, I guess, something like that.
Right.
So, and I played all the time. I played constantly, and then when we formed a band, me and my buddy, when we were like 7. He played piano, and then he got a bass, and the story goes on. But we ended up forming a band, and then 2 bands kind of became one, and we started making a really good sound. Our drummer, you got to remember, this was 1988, 89, and our drummer played a Simmons SDS9, but he had it MIDI'd up to a Roland machine. So we had these real power samples. Okay. And so we sounded like Def Leppard. Okay. So when all the other bands were playing on the circuit, you'd have like the drum, whoever, this next band's on, and the kits would be shit and mic'd up really badly. Yeah. And then we'd come on, and of course our kit was everything. It was just 2 outs, off you go. It sounded, we sounded like Hysteria. We sounded like that. And it was quite a big band. There were 2 guitar players. There was a keyboard player and a singer, and we all sang. So we had these amazing harmonies, and it was kind of a Def Leppard-y sort of pop rock thing. And we started attracting a lot of attention in the town where I grew up. We played the big theatre in town. We were a support act, and we absolutely blew this place to pieces. And from that point, we were getting a lot of bookings. And there was a club in Maidstone where I grew up called the Trading Post, and it was quite a well-known venue. Used to get quite a few indie bands and smaller up-and-coming bands play there. Yeah. But we held the record. We sold it out to the point of where they were queuing out the street and down the road. We became such a big act. And I was 17, 18 at the time. It was crazy with my Marshall and my HM2 and my Ibanez. We wrote some good songs, and we got to the point of negotiating deals and record deals. And we had Level 42's manager was interested in us, and we had meetings with him. And then we were up at Island Records and Chrysalis Records. And it got to that point. And then the 90s started, and we're like, we're going to sign this deal. And then Nevermind came out.
Crap.
And that was it. So at that point, all my mates started wearing flannel shirts, not washing their hair, and staring at the floor, whereas I retained my cowboy boots and my long flaxen locks and my Ibanez, which was soon to be traded for a Fender Tele that's still hanging on the wall behind me. And I just wanted to become a session guitar player. And I thought, I know I'll become a session guitarist, but I don't know how to get into that. I'll become a guitar teacher. I haven't got a clue what I'm playing. So I started jamming with this friend, and he said, I got Phil Hilborn's phone number. Now, Phil Hilborn back in the 80s was the guy. He wrote for Guitarist magazine, and he started Guitar Techniques magazine. And so I got his phone number, and that was it. Went up, had a lesson, and he took me under his wing. And within a couple of years, I was writing for Guitar Techniques, and then Lick Library used to be Total Accuracy. They contacted Phil and said, "Oh, we need a guitar player," and that was it, really. And it all kind of snowballed from there. Yeah.
Good stuff.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. And of course, from there, every opportunity that came along, you said yes.
I never said no.
Because that's the thing. I saw your podcast with Andy Ferris, and yeah, the long and short there was, everything that comes up, just say yes.
Just say yes. Can you do that? Yes. Shit. Can I? Yeah.
Sounds very familiar. A lot of my early career was very similar. Yeah. And so that's how I ended up doing a lot of the many things that I do. Is like, oh, can you do 3D graphics? Yeah, of course we can. Click. Right. Okay. Somebody get a graphics program. How do we do this?
Yeah. How do we do that? Yeah.
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 Quick.
I think I made the right career move. If we'd have been a band back in the 80s, we'd have probably had one single. Well, I had a single out in the 90s, no, I didn't. 2000s, I had a record in the charts,
Right.
and I got to number 12 in the UK charts, and
Woo.
still we owned Virgin loads of money. It was a joke. So, but I much preferred the kind of role of being the sideman, being hired for tours, and yeah, I've done some nice tours, and that's yeah.
Certainly have. I mean, one that I do know of was that you were with We Will Rock You and worked your way all the way up. Or was it before that you were playing with Brian May and then the other way around?
It was I was doing. I got the call to do We Will Rock You from Neil Murray, the bass player from Whitesnake.
Right.
And it was the same day that I got the call to do the Australian Pink Floyd show, which is the biggest Pink Floyd tribute show in the world. So I got asked to do the We Will Rock You show, and I ended up telling them that I was too busy. So I went away on tour in America for about 4 months with the Australian Pink Floyd show. When I came back, I said to the guy, the guitar player there, because they needed a sub. And I just said, oh, yeah, I'm back, sort of thing, not expecting, and he was like, come in next week, we need you. I was like, oh, shit. So I went in and ended up, the way you audition for We Will Rock You in the West End is you go and sit in, you take the parts home, and then you learn the gig on your first gig, which is a Saturday afternoon. And when you're doing it, the guitarist is sitting there, and he's got the shepherd's crook, because if you cock up too many times, it's round, get him off. And
right,
I've been playing there when they've had other people coming in on the other chair, and it's like the MD is over the other side of the stage, and he picks the phone up and comes to you in ears. Could you take him off, please? And one guy got really pissed off, and he tried to leave the bandstand during the show. And we're like, no, you can't go, mate. I've never been so insulted in all my life. You're like, yeah, but if you walk across the stage now, it's kind of a show on, and there's like 1,000 people in here or whatever. You can't just go stomping across in front of all the cast of We Will Rock You. I'd like to have seen that, but that was it. Basically, you went in on a Saturday afternoon and you got through the show, and apparently I got through with minimal mistakes, and they went, all right, you're on, and that was it.
Right.
It was one of those, I don't know. Am I allowed to swear at all?
Yeah, well, you've already said shit a few times, so it's fine by me.
Yeah, it's a bit when your bottom's doing 5p, 10p because you're so nervous. Like, have I got to play this part now? Am I going to play this part really loudly and in the wrong place? So it was quite a scary experience. But then from there, I ended up coming to Sweden to do a show, which was with one of the guys from We Will Rock You, and that was a little show called Champions of Rock, which was just playing music venues and small theatres, but we were selling them out. And Champions of Rock now, we signed to Live Nation, and in 2015, or I think it was 2015, we did a tour of Sweden, Scandinavian tour, and it was the biggest selling tour for Live Nation Scandinavia that year. We sold over 90,000 tickets.
Wow.
It was a massive tour. And but yeah, so from there was a singer called Kerry Ellis on one of the gigs, and she said, oh, you play like Brian. I was like, well, thank you, that's what we're meant to do. And then I got a call, would you be interested in playing in a band with Brian May? And I said yes. And then one day his management phoned me up, and I had to go up and do We Will Rock You whilst Brian sat watching it, and don't cock it up, and then he came up in the interval and offered me the job in his band.
Wow. So he was obviously impressed.
Yeah, it was good. And I did a bunch of dates with Brian, and then the first gig I did with Brian was Hyde Park. That was again quite a big gig to do on your first gig. Just 80,000 people there and a few million on TV, no pressure. And I wore Van Halen striped shoes on that performance.
Nice.
You still had to wear the colours for the man.
You still got those shoes? Because I've seen your EVH flip-flops that are nearly worn through.
Yeah, if I could have them, I'd have EVH underpants as well, Adam.
I'm surprised you don't.
I was going to say probably some kind of brown striping or something on them.
Take some electrical tape to your undies.
Yes, but and then from doing the job with Brian's band, then I had my 40th birthday at his house, and he asked if I'd do a gig with Queen. So I did one gig with Queen, and then that was it. That was my time over.
It's more than you need. One's enough, right?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to do it. So yeah.
Was he just being nice as a birthday present, you to think? Or...
I don't know. No, I thought he was taking the piss. Oh, I've sworn again, Adam. I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
Taking the mic. I thought he was messing about. Yeah, but no, it was quite surreal. I must admit, sitting there, turned up to Brian's house for rehearsals on my 40th birthday, and got a surprise, and we all sat down and had tea and cake and presents, and then Brian said, "So, how would you feel about doing a gig with Queen?" I was like, "Excuse me, who are you talking to?"
So one of those where the room goes dark and suddenly it's just you and Brian, and you're just like,
yeah. I love you, Brian. So, but yeah, it was good. It was a good experience, and he's remained a good friend. I ended up programming the Amplitude Brian May package. I helped set that kind of initial meeting up between Amplitude and Brian, or IK Multimedia, should I say. But then I ended up doing all the presets for that package. So I still dip my toe into the world of Queen every so often. I'm still a Queen on weekends.
Hey, you got a red special or two lying around?
Yeah, there's a couple up there on the wall there.
Ah, yes, so there is.
Yeah.
I'm having to stare at my screen.
I've got there's a regular, because when I played in Brian's band, I borrowed one of his Andrew Guyton ones, but I've got a green special there, but that's had the guts ripped out of it, and that's got hand wired pickups in. Actually, let me grab a guitar.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something. Some of you guys might be interested in this. This is a bit naughty because it's a fake.
Right.
And I didn't ask it to be a fake. When I was at Brian's, but as a kid, I was a big Queen fan, and that was one of the reasons why I started playing the guitar. And I love the Red Special, but I remember those original Guild adverts when One Vision came out.
Yeah.
Brian had a guitar with a locking trem. Brian had a guitar with a Kayla on it.
Right.
And if you look up, there's an original Brian May guitar. It was the first production Brian May guitar, and it had DiMarzio Brian May signature pickups on it.
Oh, wow.
And a Kayla. And when I was at Brian's house, I got to use one of them. They've got massive necks. I don't know where you see that. The neck is like a tree. It's huge. So all of Brian's guitars have the big neck, but the production ones don't unless you get the special. So I borrowed the One Vision guitar from Brian, the original one of his Guilds, and I just loved it because it was this all black, just looked really cool. And I'm a member of a few Brian May sort of forums and things, and there weren't that many of these guitars made. So some guy built me this replica.
Right.
But he put that on the headstock.
All right, just because.
Yeah, I was a bit like, you put Guild on the headstock. Why have you done that? But yeah, so that's one I use a lot. But that's like $6,000 guitar. It was ridiculous. I didn't pay that for him, but yeah. So that's one that I use quite a lot. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Talking of $6,000 guitars, I keep looking at those Nick Hubers and going, ha.
Yeah, they're nice. They are very nice.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford one. Have you seen Henning's video where he's getting one made?
No, I haven't actually. He's getting one.
Yeah, so he's releasing a series of factory videos. He's been to Nick Huber's factory since Gear Street, and so far they've just picked a top, and it's a single quilt maple piece. It's not book matched; it's a single piece. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And the only other person that I know who has a single quilt, like not book matched top, is me.
Oh yeah.
Because I've got a PRS Tremonti, if you can see that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bit naughty.
It is single piece, and this is my pride and joy. This guitar.
Yeah.
And that beautiful thing is never being sold.
No.
Yes, it's so rare.
Very nice.
When we saw that, because me and my dad, we both collect guitars, and he saw that years ago, And yeah, it was one of those where it was like, hello, Mr. Credit Card. Yes, I've got a situation.
Yeah, it's a beautiful guitar.
Yes. So that's my pride and joy. If only I could do it justice. But that's what the basses are for. But yes.
You keep saying this, Adam. I heard you play guitar and there was nothing wrong with it.
There was nothing wrong with the guitar, yeah. Yeah. Any mistakes were entirely my own.
Yeah, they were included with the guitar. This guitar is broken. It plays wrong chords.
Yes. That should have been a sharp 7th.
Yes.
Right. Well, it looks like that is the perfect time to call it a day. So thank you so much, Jamie, for being on my podcast this week.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for having me, mate.
Anytime. And everybody else, go away. We are closed. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will be back same time next week, 8 p.m. UK time on Thursday. And we will have the one and only Mr. Andy Ferris as our guest next week.
Oh, is Andy coming on?
It is.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'm definitely joining to heckle. I should be in the audience.
You are more than welcome to heckle in chat. That's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a right laugh. But between now and then, we're going to be live tomorrow writing a song on stream. No pressure. I've been commissioned to write a song for a friend of mine. And then
Lovely.
Sunday night, I'll be live from Studio B, so my office, doing more mixing for a band called Aurora Project. So I'll see everybody before the next podcast. But if not, take care and I'll see you then.
See you guys. Thank you, Adam. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
See you later. Hey everyone, that might be the end of the video, but if you fancy carrying on this conversation, we have a Discord server, link is in the description. We're also on Patreon, which is something you can really help us with. We also are on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at Hop Hole Studios. See you there.